everyone. Welcome to another awesome day of FileMaker training. I'm here, Richard Carlton, here at fmtraining.tv, where every day is an exciting day where we're covering new and awesome things that we do with FileMaker. Let's see, I guess we should cover the upcoming broadcast schedule real quick. So I'm going to press the button right here. The upcoming broadcast schedule for those of you wondering about what we are doing. So today we're having a kind of a update conversation regarding Claris's various offerings, where we're at with the Claris Studio products, etc., the bundles therein. We will be talking with Andy LeCates about that momentarily. Then starting Tuesday, tomorrow, we're going to be continuing day 4, day 5, day 6 of user interface design basics. In fact, last week was basics. This week is kind of more intermediate, right? And then the following week after that, we have a week of iPad focused conversation. Week after that is iPhone. They're similar, but different. Similar, but different, right? So there you go. That's the fmtrain.tv webpage. You just press the live button. You can see the upcoming broadcast schedule. So today is kind of an interesting conversation because we got Andy LeCates here from Claris. Hello, Andy. How are you?
Doing great, Richard. Thanks for having me back, mate. It's always fun to be here.
It's always fun to be here. Yeah, we were talking a little bit beforehand, and I had kind of lost my awesome wordsmithing in terms of what Andy does. So Andy always puts things much better than I do in terms of like the professional polish. I'm the guy, when things get rough, I break out the puppet action, right? Andy just digs deep into his verbiage and just lays on some really butter smooth commentary. And
I am the puppet, Richard. That's me.
I'm amazed at what you can do, really, seriously. So today is what I'm going to do is I pop down a slideshow. What we're going to be talking about today is kind of an update on the Claris platform bundle and the Claris problem solver circle. So the idea is that we visited this technology back in May, and this was kind of Claris's efforts to modernize the platform to bring us some additional awesomeness. They kind of foreshadowed this a little bit back with the last real DevCon in 2019. And so they're actually starting to make some, I would say, measurable, substantial, ongoing progress. And the idea for us today is to kind of come in and take a look at where that progress is, kind of remind us of where this fits within the schema, within the world of FileMaker, the ecology of the platform. And along the way, if you folks have questions, please ask questions, post comments. So the goals today is the problem solver circle version 2. We're going to talk about this. And then as I start to dig a deep hole that Andy dislikes my terminology, he will intervene and help me with this. But they have this problem solver circle. Yeah, it's going to come any second.
Take some work. Okay.
I'm going to see how far I can go before I get cut off at the pass, right? So there's really two things that are going on here. And one is that Claris built this problem solver circle, which is kind of this platform with this interesting site licensing, kind of like an unlimited site license, super cheap, that allows you to extend FileMaker with other groups within a larger organization. If you have a company of 5 people or 20 people, it doesn't make any sense for you whatsoever. But if you're like Lynn at the University of Austin, this might be a good fit for that sort of organization where you can get it super cheap. And then you can give it to the entire organization for 2 or 3 years or whatever it works out to be. And then at the end of that, you settle up and you square up with what you actually would owe if you were paying for a site license or a group license for those people, right? So say Lynn's at the University of Austin and she has 10 people in a group. They buy an extra juicy problem solver circle bundle. She can give it to everyone else, the entire world at the University of Austin, all of the employees, right? University of Texas at Austin, I think, right? If I have that wrong, Lynn, feel free to correct me. And then you might have 2 or 3 other groups start using FileMaker. Well, from FileMaker's perspective, that's growth. From as a developer perspective, that's growth for your business. Makes a lot of sense. It's actually a really kind of a smart tool set. So we have that. We're going to cover that, kind of an update on that. And then we have this thing, which is really kind of the future of the FileMaker platform. Claris hasn't said that, at least officially publicly, but kind of the world of what FileMaker looks like down the road will be some flavor version of this Claris bundle platform. So we last visited these topics on May 10th. And so with Claris's agile development, every couple of weeks, whatever it is, they're fielding new updates. We saw some of that at Auto Enter. And so we thought we'd go back and relook at this and play with this a little bit. So we have 2 conversations that we're having today. At the end of the day, in my limited opinion, once again, this is Richard not talking from marketing department at Claris. These programs are very similar from a technical aspect. From a technical, mechanical, software product aspect, they're very similar. However, they are different licenses. This is essentially the Problem Solver Circle is essentially a site license that's so low price that it's an effort for you to help expand it within your organization. The products that are in here are the same products that are in here. In fact, if I go to the next slide, we can, and I get my face out of the way, you can see that this is a Claris slide, and they made some improvements to this slide after last time, which was great. So, but all these, the core products that we all know and love, Pro, Go, Server, and maybe you're using FileMaker Cloud too. And then it comes with WebDirect. These are the core products that we have. The idea is that we're in a preview / beta. For those of you who don't know what preview is, another way of saying kind of a loose beta that's been turned loose on the public, right? For public feedback, etc. And so we have this idea of this Claris Studio, which is really the main piece here that we're interested in. There is Claris Connect. That's part of this too. We haven't played with that yet, at least me personally. But you'll see that in the future. So this Claris Studio is this new piece. And so understand that one here is a site license for your entire organization. And then the Claris Platform bundle is basically like you need a 5-pack of FileMaker or 10 seats of FileMaker or 20 seats of FileMaker. You can buy it, the conventional product where you pay X number of dollars, like up until this price change, it was $900, this suggested retail price for 5 users of what we call FileMaker Pro, Go, and Server, right? Pro, Go, Server, yeah. And that comes with WebDirect, $900 for 5 people. Price will go up a little bit after September 23rd. That is for 5 people. But what if you wanted to take it and try to give it to all the people in the organization and get them addicted to it like a crack dealer, right? So you're going to give them a little free crack. They're going to get high. They're going to decide they like to get high. Then they're going to start using it religiously. And then in 2 or 3 years, when Claris comes back and says, hey, so I'm glad you liked our crack. How many of you are actually addicted to it now? And it went from 10 people to say 40 people or 80 people or whatever, right? Doesn't matter.
That's what language, Richard. Like we're glad you got value from the platform.
Yeah. You're not so value from the platform, or you love the crack because it's awesome. It's not the corporate policy wax job, but it is, I think, the reality of this. If you expose people to FileMaker and you expose them to success, at the end of the day, it's about them being successful in their jobs, being more efficient, bigger return on investment of your staff dollars in terms of the HRs, things like that. FileMaker is a huge win in almost any organization. It really is. And so once people see, that's why all of you are here. So Andy, you want to talk about this a little bit? Because the Claris Platform bundle is kind of this new piece of this, right?
Happy to. I mean, I think you've covered a lot of it really, really well, Richard. I think, at the start, we conceived of the Problem Solver Circle program in the first place from a place of how do we make our developers more successful or more valuable, right? Like when we came out in April and Brad and Pete and I did the webinar, Brad was very clear that we delivered directly to our customers nothing. Without you, there is no value provided, right? It's the developers who make that happen. And so it's not just an admission from our strategy as a company that developers are important. It literally is that developer success is our key to success, right? We cannot succeed unless developers do. So our job is to make you more valuable, right? And it was starting from that place then. It was, well, how do we amplify the value that our developers are already providing in the businesses and organizations that they work with? And when we look at the data around our customers, we know that we have a lot of customers that have many employees, but have a seat license with us that is smaller. And the implication or inference that we make is that in those organizations, they could do more. They could get more value from our platform and from their developer, whether it's in-house developer or a partner who's providing services. And so we developed the Problem Solver Circle on the premise that if we took away licensing as an impediment to experimentation, to trying out new whatever it is, agile, software development within the organization, if we remove that impediment, that more companies would be able to do more with their developers and get more value out of it. And with the predictability of having essentially a couple of years, 2 years in the original Problem Solver to go off and do that, then the customer didn't have to worry about paying those licensing fees, right? And if they get the value, they prove the value at the end of 2 years, they really like what they've got, then we'll true up and we'll reset and go on from there, right? So all of what you said is accurate, but I want to fundamentally say for us, it is about really doubling down on our developers as the value that is provided in the marketplace, if that makes sense.
So yeah,
so then
the tools get better. We want to use it. More departments use it. Listen, no one buys FileMaker and at the end of the day, and it doesn't help the organization. It's an extraordinary rare moment that I can't even, maybe once every 2 or 3 years you hear about someone who bought FileMaker and they actually never used it. It's rare. Yeah. Everyone who buys FileMaker, it's a huge benefit to the organization. And if we can take it out of, like, say, Lynn is in the XYZ department at the University of Texas, and they use it, say, in the facilities group or some other groups within the organization, those groups would have a big benefit, and they're going to be happy. People who use FileMaker are happy to pay for it, really, at the end of the day, right?
Sure, of course, absolutely. And, we're at a different era too than we were throughout the 90s, right? In the 90s, I think the average FileMaker developer, myself included, I was in that bucket. I was a developer like yourself. I was in the market trying to sell my services, and we weren't particularly respected, right, across the software industry, right? We weren't doing real code. We weren't part of the core IT strategy. We were perceived as shadow IT, or we were building data silos, those sorts of things. And that mentality has largely shifted. Right now in the current era, low code as a concept is gaining some traction and respect because it's understood that people who don't have a CS degree or learned how to build software using tools like ours are actually rather important to business, right? Are actually producing real value. And so now that we're in that domain, that time frame, why not do more with this thing, right? Customers are now investigating lots of tools that use low-code tooling or rapid app development tooling. And if they've already got value from our platform, why would you go and distribute your resources across different tools? Like, let's see if we can do more with this thing. So we think it's a really great timing to be able to provide this kind of thing out there.
Okay, so David Angel has a question, and I'm going to let you, I'm going to just throw a nice, easy softball for you here. David Angel says, WebDirect anonymous users, ? He's asking about, this anonymous user action going on down here in the...
Yeah, with the site license, where we're providing essentially 100% blanket coverage for that organization, we're not requiring that the WebDirect access is limited to your named user pool if you bought 20 seats or 25 seats or something like that. So the idea is that you can go ahead and put it out there, and as many people as you need to come in that performance will allow for, go ahead and make it happen.
Yeah, so this is the big part of this. This is really great, because I know some people here who have thought about this and like, wow, this is really amazing. Keep in mind, at some point in the future, when you true up or square up with this, and you say the 2 or 3 year program is over, you're going to figure out that you actually have 30 or 40 connections or concurrent connections coming in, say with WebDirect, and that would be a license at that point you would buy. But the whole idea is over the next couple of years, you're going to prove the ROI, you're going to see the benefit, the management, the bean counters and accounting, et cetera, will see the value of what you're doing, and they're happy to pay for the product. Really, at the end of the day, it's people who use FileMaker and see the value are happy to pay for it. So
when 2 years out, an emerging strategy for, public web distribution of your data is coming from the platform. It's Claris Studio. So we'll talk about that some more as well, because in many use cases, it may be the preferred public web face for your app strategy. So.
Well, that's a good segue at this point. Ruben there is pointing out that, yeah, it's like drugs. Yeah, it is very much so. So it's
I'll add this for the audience, Richard, before we get away from the programs entirely. These are different than Problem Solver Circle was last quarter, and largely in response to customer feedback. We had a lot of success last quarter with the PSC, with the idea of the site license, with the idea of I want to turn my developers loose. And we're really looking forward to working with the customer base that got into it to nurture them, connect them with developers, help them figure out how to do new and wonderful things. But a couple of points of feedback were, one, we were fixed on 2 years, right? It was a requirement of the program, and some customers just didn't want to commit on the 2 year window. Some wanted more. Some were like, give me 1 year and I'm all in, right? So we made the change to be a little more flexible there. The other thing that we found is that there was a sweet spot for Problem Solver Circle that was a larger customer, and I don't mean like huge enterprise, but a mid-market customer that was large enough to invest in their technology, to pay for a site license and plan for it strategically, as opposed to, you know, a small sole proprietorship or a small company with only a couple employees where the site license itself didn't provide value. And so that's the reason why the platform bundle we thought would be a good idea, because we had a lot of customers saying, I want to get my hands on Connect. I want to see where Studio is going. I'd love to use all these techs together, but I don't need the site license. And so we're bringing this one to bear as well, so that essentially anybody can get access to the full Claris platform.
All right, real quick. So this slideshow part of this is over. So what I want to do is kind of pivot a little bit, and this might seem, I'm going to try not to overwhelm everyone with this. And Andy, if you want to throw in with me on this or throw ideas out. So what I want to do is talk about the Claris Studio a little bit. This is the part that's really, for me, the newest, most interesting piece, because it's totally new technology, but it augments FileMaker. I mean, you had a really good way of framing this conversation, but this idea of Claris Studio here, augmenting things in FileMaker that maybe FileMaker doesn't do so well out of the box, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think we look at the platform, and again, for our developers, we want to make you more valuable. So how can we give you better tools for the right tool for the right job, and potentially start attacking new jobs, right? And give you more space to exercise your innovation, your creativity. And so the whole point, you know, when Peter announced this last year and we went into more detail in April, was to start enumerating on the advantages of, you know, kind of a cloud scalable, you know, architecture where we have unlimited data volume and performance at scale, and the ability to present stuff anywhere. If we could do that and make it do something rather magical, which is harmonize with FileMaker, right? It's part of the overall platform. Then we have the ability to go into new use case domains that might be interesting. You know, the first thing we picked as we put the developer preview out there was the idea of just anonymous form submission. You know, simple use case to solve for. It was predicated around a registration or whatever for, I don't know, your camp, a PTA meeting, whatever it is. But it was a way to get value out there that one could build and then get the data into the FileMaker platform. Now we have the ability to go bidirectionally with data and do more, and we're entertaining other use cases that we can talk about. But the idea is to complement FileMaker and focus on things that either FileMaker doesn't do really, really well, or FileMaker can't do it all, and see if we can add those to our toolkit. So a lot of words there to say exactly what you said, Richard. It's complementary to FileMaker.
Yeah, complementary to FileMaker. Yeah. So one of the things that came up, and Andy just kind of mentioned this, is that if Claris did surveys of like, well, where could Claris deliver a better product, or what areas are being underserved, and doing basic form creation, not in the FileMaker form, but in a form on a web page, and having that easily feed before it's, you know, PHP or data API and all this other stuff, which you can totally still do. It's what you would use for a very, very serious website. But if you want to throw something together ad hoc, that's where the Claris Studio becomes more interesting. So I want a quick tip of the hat. In fact, let me do this real quick. Ken, you're there paying attention. Here we go. So what I want to do real quick is I want to go to Ken. If I want to say hot, this so we all understand what we're going to do today. So I'm going to say hot air balloon Festival 2022. So this is, here we go, Albuquerque Hot Air Balloon Festival. So this is coming up in a couple weeks. And so Ken's been badgering me about, hey, we need this registration page for this thing, blah, blah, blah. It starts in 39 days. They have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of balloons that show up to this thing. It's a big, big deal. You can get rides. You can watch them fly around. Look at that. That's crazy at night with the lights and stuff. It's nuts. So the idea was that, well, let's see how far we could get if we wanted to build a registration for the pilots to come here. So let me bring everyone up to speed real quick. So I'm a pilot, but I don't fly balloons. I fly other stuff. And so what's interesting is that to fly a balloon, you have to have a pilot's license. And a lot of the paperwork that you would have in a small airplane or in a large jet, they have the similar sort of paperwork for hot air balloons. You just can't buy a balloon and fly it around. I guess you could until the law enforcement catches up and wants to see your driver's license, right? So what the idea was to come over here to Claris Studio. Let's build a registration. So real quick, we've been playing with this. Andy and I was playing with this, and Andy came in and had some ideas and thoughts about it. The first thing is that previously we had these ideas of we have view. These are all the users that are in the system. This is like a big, giant developer playground with all the different FileMaker consultancies that are out there that are kind of playing with this. So we're in this like big collective environment. And ideally, obviously, if you bought it, you would have your own environment and you would only see your employees or your staff, that type of thing. Views are basically, essentially, if I were to create a new view real quick, you can create a form view, right? So we all understand forms. If you're brand new to FileMaker, you've never seen FileMaker before, this is going to be a bewildering conversation. So just understand that, save that and come back to me or shoot me an email to support RC Consulting and I'll help explain it. I'm assuming most people have some sort of base knowledge of FileMaker. So you can create a form view. You can create a list detail view. We can create a spreadsheet view. You can create a Kanban view, and you can also, it's funny it says Kanban because you could also do a dashboard, right? I would think dashboard would kind of be there, but this is also
right now you create dashboards starting from somewhere else, so that's why it's not there. But
yeah, it's not here. So this is all going to evolve over time, and you'll see little weirdness in here periodically. And you're like, hey, how come that doesn't work just right? That's because there's still work every day they're working on. In fact, Claris could submit an update to this thing and make it better while we're here live on TV or break it. So there's no way of knowing. I mean, when they say agile development, we haven't really covered this. Andy, real quick. So that means you folks are coding day to day to day, and you're pushing updates out to this stuff every week, 2 weeks, pretty frequently?
Yeah, right now we're on a 2-week release cadence to get together functionality and push it. We could, in theory, do continuous integration and delivery and do it daily, like you're talking about, or even real time. But that's not the current plan. We do want to, get things to a place of maturity and then bundle them up for you, so we don't. It's hard enough to keep up, right? But we'll do a 2-week push, and then we've got a help center that'll now alert you to things that are coming in the updates. So it's just releasing functionality with a lot more velocity than we have in the past, and they're moving fast. So
no, it's really, really fast. So previously we were here in May, we had views, we had users. Hubs are kind of new. Do you want to take a swing at explaining what a hub is? Because it's kind of like a solution,
yep,
but it's kind of not. Right?
Yeah, I think of hubs. I'm kind of getting my head around it still too, Richard. But it's not an app. It really is a collection of views on data that you want to have for a specific audience, right? So it's really building some workflow experiences that one audience, one user may really care about and want access to. So for my CEO, I may have a hub that gives him or her all the dashboards that they require and different views into the workflows, whereas my Scrum team over here needs its own hub. So it's really just a way to organizing views up for a certain constituency.
Yeah. So you could have, and once again, I'm going to use terminology and analogies that I'm comfortable with. Once again, under the hood here is a different database system. So real quick, for those of you just low-hanging fruit here. I know, Larry, I don't know if you've been around very much. So this is a FileMaker file here that happens to be running on my local computer. This is a FileMaker. I'm going to open it with Claris Pro. It's going to pop open. And so understand that this file could be locally on my computer or on the server. This system over here is both a front end and its own back end database. And so here is a FileMaker file. It's very basic, very ugly, very black and white. Okay. The idea is that this data is over here, right? And the data that's over here is separate. Now we can look at both at the same time, but it's really important to understand initially that without us setting up a bridge between the two sides, there's a left side and a right side. And then really you could consider this a SQL Oracle kind of system over here, a big iron, heavy capability. It can grow much larger in terms of capacity than FileMaker can. People always say, how many users can FileMaker handle simultaneously? And the answer is several hundred at a time, depending upon the server, maybe even 500 at a time if you have a really great server and you've been watching our training about optimization. Mm-hmm. But there are limits to where the basic FileMaker engine can go. Claris calls that the Draco engine. I'm just going to call it Draco. That's the engine over here. This engine over here is Mongo. It's kind of like SQL, but it's not really SQL. It's this non-SQL kind of.
In fact, it's explicitly no SQL, right?
I know, but I don't know. That blows up my head when you say that. So I just kind
Well,
of loop.
for your viewers that may not have seen it, the stream you did with Chris Moyer a couple of weeks ago was super, super awesome. I think Chris really did a great job of digging in on what is Mongo, what is a NoSQL data store, how does that compare with the relational database environment that we've already known, and then start to, I think, speculate about what might be the potential of having those two things harmonized to work together. Like you just mentioned that right now I set them up in two places, but then I build a bridge, kind of like ESS, right, to an Oracle. And I build that bridge so that I can now bidirectionally move my data. But over time, we may be able to make that experientially one option, right? You build it in one place, it's available in both. I don't know if we can or not, but that's the idea of harmonizing those two things so that we think of them as developers as one sort of data foundation for our creativity is kind of the goal. So I'm hoping we can figure out how to do that well. But you're right, the NoSQL database as a document store, this is the stuff that hosts really big cloud properties, right? And so the idea is you could support millions or billions of transactions through it. It's not about relational meaning, the way that we relate data to create meaning.
Yeah, I'm waiting for you to wordsmith that one nicely, because we're gonna have to write that one down, because it's for those of you, I've been doing this 33 years and it hurts my head to think about this. So what I want to do is briefly kind of show you, I created a hub. Creating a hub is nothing more than saying, here's a hub. If I create a hub, I can call it, I'll just call it Andy1, right? Just for a moment. And this doesn't really particularly matter, but you create a hub over here. So what I'm gonna do is you could add views. So I'm gonna get rid of this one right here. It's, we have this Andy hub right here. And if we wanted to add views, so a view is essentially, from our perspective, a layout. So a hub, and until you get your head fully wrapped around the idea of what this stuff is, I'm going to give you loose analogies that may not be strictly true, but they should be close enough for us to get through the live stream today. So a hub, for the moment, I'm going to consider it a solution. And a view is going to be a layout with a backend table attached to it. So if I say add a view, you can go into the other views that have already been created. And these should be thumbnails here. We could go in and see what Reliant was doing, blah, 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 whatever. Here's one from someone else. We say add views. I have no idea what's that. And so then you could come in here and say, hey, let's open up that or look at that, etc. So building a view is very easy, very straightforward. If I come down here to the one where we were working on with the hot air balloon, what I wanted to do is I created a new view. Like if I'm in views and I say, here are the views right here, and I want to create a view, I can create a form view detail. That's, once again, the form view is going to be a web page. It's going to be, if I just create one right here, it's going to say, it starts off with the kind of this idea of a registration. You can add other pages in here. The idea was,
and it's not required to be a registration, right? You can customize the data behind it and change it to anything you want. But the idea is it's one-way form submission. So when you present that out to a user, they will not be able to search records and find them and sort them. They're just going to be able to pipe data into you, and that's what that form is for. So
what I'm going to do is I'm going to pivot back to our hub over here where we had the hot air balloon, and I created this registration called hot air balloon. So some of you know I've been talking to Ken, getting the information, because I fly helicopters, Ken flies hot air balloons, and the regs and how this stuff is a little bit different. And so I was trying to get for him the kind of the official stuff on it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say I'm going to edit this form. So once again, this looks very similar. There's a page, you could have other pages in the middle, and then you have a confirmation. So if I say edit the page, it's going to pop up right here. And so this is the Albuquerque 2022. It starts in a couple weeks. And so as you're adding fields or creating fields, all you have to do is say, like, and you grab it, you can move it around. It's very simple, very straightforward. It keeps you from turning it into a hot mess. It also kind of limits some of your creativity. But if you're trying to do this ad hoc, most people don't want to create the artistic, like Nick Hunter, those of you who know Nick, he worked at Claris, worked at Apple, does a lot of UI design. He wants to be able to do pixel perfect adjustments. This does it for you automatically, which is kind of great, right? But to add a field, let me just add a field.
It's about thriving within constraints. I think we were talking about this earlier, Richard. I am complicit in this, but I can make a database as ugly as I want to make it, and I do, right? Because I am not someone who obsesses over design all the time. And so with this tool, I can design something much simpler. I don't have to worry about the pixel alignment and all the sort of color combinations and fonts. And you just throw it out there and get it done in minutes, or much more quickly than I traditionally can build a layout. So
So here's what happens is I can press the button right here to say share, and the sharing is enabled. You could disable it or you could turn it on, right? And then this would be the link. So I'm going to copy this link. I mean, what are they going to do? Please do not post questionable material. Ruben, and David Angel, right? You guys, because Andy's here, we have to be on our best behavior, right? So that's what your mom says to you. Be on your best behavior. Make sure you have clean clothes on. All right, so this page is done right here. Something new that we didn't have in May was the ability to submit containers. Now, they don't really call them containers here. They're called attachments, which, of course, if you think about it, container is a FileMaker Claris word we've had for a long time, but really everyone thinks about attachments. I initially, when I saw this the other day, I was like, oh, that's offensive. They don't use the word container. I'm offended. And then I realized, wait a minute, attachment might be the more appropriate name for it, right? And you're like, okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead. I had that link. I pasted it. I'm going to, as you make edits here, it saves automatically. So this is live. I'm going to go over here to my browser. I'm going to pop a new window. I'm just going to paste in the link. I'm hoping this works. And so here comes the actual page. So I can put Claris right here. Her last name is International. We could have an email on here. I'm going to skip that. This field right here is set, and these two fields here are set for required, right? That's now an individual item. I could put some other information in here, but more importantly, I can drag and drop pictures in here. So I would need a picture of a balloon somewhere. I actually don't have that. I'll just put this picture here. It's a screenshot. I have the driver's license photo. Here's Claris's driver's license photo right here. She needs a pilot license front photo or pilot photo. You have that. The pilot's license front and back. There's all sorts of log books. Show us your log books with endorsements to prove that you have training. Oh, that's interesting. Hey, Andy, here's one for you. There's a new extension for some of the images that's modern. It's called web.p. It's a new format. And I dragged that over here and it didn't like it. It just
right. Well, you can put any documents. You're not guaranteed a preview on every format, but you can put any kind of document in an attachment. So I guess we'll have to look at that WebP.
Yeah, that's a new one that I've caught places. So hang on here, we're getting through this. So where'd my picture go? Oh, there she is right there. So we got the pilot photo, kind of a questionable pilot. I wouldn't trust her. Now I'm going to say submit, and it's going to submit. Oh, I have a warning message. It's not been completed. Country USA. All right, so I'm going to submit now. And it's giving us a dialogue as it puts the images and loads them up, and it sticks.
And that required field was also what, one checkbox by you, right? This whole thing is made
one
simple and declarative, and not a whole lot of digging into auto enter options and validation options and all that. You pick a data type and you make it required or not, and you're kind of done, right? And the rest of the work is done for you. So it's a very fast design kind of tool set.
Yeah. So let me pop over here. This is the. Is this going to load? This has the spreadsheet balloon. Right, there it goes. Okay, so since May, for those of you wondering about, back in May, you could create data in Claris Studio. You could kind of slurp it across into FileMaker, which you're going to see momentarily. But FileMaker, from our conventional side, when I say conventional, FileMaker Pro, Go, WebDirect, that kind of Draco side of it, we couldn't push changes back the other way. Now it can. So earlier today, I did an import over here, and I pushed in like 3,800 records down here. So right now, I have a filter applied. I'm used to pressing Command F really fast. I can't do that here, but I do have a filter that's been turned on here, and I can say get rid of the filter or clear all. And so now we have 3,857 records, which is kind of neat. You can do sorts, you can group it. Group is our, once again, translating find mode, do a found set. A group is a sort with a sub summary, right? Kind of cool, right? And so there's all sorts of stuff in here. So here's, earlier I did a registration of a balloon. I can click on this and see this. This is the container. It's in the data system. Now, if I scroll to the very bottom down here, or wait a minute, it's sorted. Let me ungroup. I'm gonna, if I keep group, what if I turn it off? Grouping off, there we go. So some of us here is a new exercise. Oh, down there, there's the one that we just submitted. Claris is going to fly a balloon. There she goes. That's awesome. And let's see, so you can slide right. So it does have the container, the other container there. Okay, so some of the containers aren't on the screen here. If I wanted to see the rest of the containers, table action, let's see, import, density, How do I find the image, the field that's not there, Andy?
I believe you need to add a column. So I think if you go to the plus button on the right, I hope I'm right on this, you should be able to add all the columns that aren't yet here. Is that right? Or are we creating one?
That's creating it. That's adding a column. Create.
Oh, is that in a column zone?
Yeah, I don't know.
I honestly haven't played with this build recently. I'm on a dev build.
That's fine. It's the same issue we have. So it's kind of new for all of us here. But the data is actually here. You have to display it on here, and it could be a bug too. Once again, this is evolving very rapidly, but it's much better behaved and much more useful than it was in May. And so you can see the agile development happening. So over here,
what do you got on your blue columns header there, Richard? If you click on that thing,
like which
the light blue header, it says columns.
This one. Oh, yeah. There you go. There you go. So you can turn on fields, and then you can change the order here. That's kind of smooth. I like. He says nice. I like it. Very cool. What if you say show all?
I mean, the spreadsheet that you're looking at, this spreadsheet view is another space. We talked about the forms earlier, and we talked about prior to that, areas where we can build new tools that make you more productive, make you more valuable, right? We did an internal project where Robert Holsey, who did a demo a couple of weeks ago, I think he shared this, he built an internal survey tool that we already had done in FileMaker. So he had a perfect spec, and he rebuilt it in FileMaker, and he rebuilt it with Studio. And he was able to do it in Studio at literally 1/10 the amount of time. And it was because he didn't have to do all the bit fiddling and figuring out all the little alignments and the stretching and contraction based on screen sizes, right? He was able to do in about 45 minutes in FileMaker, 4 minutes and 7 seconds with Studio. So that's just developer efficiency, right? That just makes us more productive. It's not necessarily about making it easy for someone who, I don't know, doesn't have the skills and capabilities of everybody on this call. It is literally about giving us value, making us more productive. And when you look at this spreadsheet view thematically, there's something similar here. I mean, sub-summaries are extremely powerful. We've been using them for 30 years, but they were state of the art in 1993. And today, somebody expects to open up a browser, see a list view, do a group, do a sort, go to the bottom and get a quick summary on that column, right? And you can do all that in a couple quick clicks. A CEO can be on the golf course and pick up their phone and do this stuff, right? And get to immediate data. So again, it's about just providing more productivity and more capability in a simpler fashion to our tool set. And the spreadsheet view is aimed towards that. We've got work to do on it, but it's getting there fast. So.
No, this is really slick. So there's two big pieces here I want to show. First, I want to show the connection piece. So once again, this is the FileMaker, the FMP12 file, whether it's local or it's on our FileMaker server. Over here is the Claris Studio with the backend, which is Mongo. To have them talk, we're in FileMaker. I can say I've already logged on to my Claris Studio ID. That's how they know who you are. I logged in with my ID, went through that process. If I go File, Manage Database, once again, you'll see the tables that I have. I created a local table right here. And for those of you who see this in italics, this is a certification test question. If you see a field that's in italics right here, that indicates it's coming through ESS or some sort of kind of SQL connection, right? And so this table right here, I said registrations that are local and pro. I could bring them over here, but in this one where it says hot air reg in Studio, there's 3,856 records over here. That's pretty slick. In the relationships, I could connect them relationally if I wanted to. My goal was just for now to display the data and to be able to play with it and look at it. So I have a layout that's here. Once again, basic FileMaker with local elements. If I create a new layout, I could have that layout. It is in a table view, but it could be a I could change it to a list view or a form view, whatever I want to do. Once again, very ugly. Notice how ugly it gets without any babysitting, whereas this system over here will babysit you a little bit as you create the form, so it doesn't look immediately hideous, right? So, but this data is now live. So if I come over here and I make an edit, so we're just to demonstrate the point, I come back to the top. I don't think it. Okay, so there's like test 4. So if I change test 4 to 444 over here, right? And I I move out, it saves the edit automatically for you here. It won't immediately change here. You have to run a process where you're going to run a script step that will refresh. It blows out the cache data. It refreshes the data. And then after a short moment, it'll delay, you'll get a redraw, and you get this information right here. It'll say test 4.4. This is the part that will be obviously optimized with higher speed as we move along. If I make an edit over here, here's edit 1, and I could just put, let's just put Andy in here. Andy. All right, so we got Andy in there, and I make an edit here. I come over here. One of the things people have asked is have this edit or update in real time. I actually saw this at one point, edit in real time, and then I haven't seen it since. So at one point I did see that. And so I'm not sure what it would take for me to refresh it. If I came back and I looked at
Just
this,
refresh your browser.
just refresh the browser, probably would do it too. Yeah. We'll try that again. It's a problem is it's loading 3,800. So there's Andy right there. Let me try it right here. Let me do it again. Let's try Andy Smith. So we have an edit there. Come back
I
over.
know that this works. I'm hoping to learn with you.
Yeah, well, that's the thing with this is that you're running through this and we're seeing all the bells, all the bits and pieces, things that we assume FileMaker does automatically. No, it didn't do it that time. That's weird.
Oh, I didn't. Okay.
And so once again, having a refresh on here would be something that would be great. But you can see where this is going, right? Yeah, I did commit over here. Let me try one more time. Maybe Christian Schmidt from Monkey Bread is saying maybe it wasn't fully committed. So I held the Option key down there when I did the reload, so that'll force a kind of a super reload. Oh, there it goes. It did take it. So sometimes there's a timing thing. Yeah, if you make an edit really fast, you come over here, it may have not fed its way all the way back through. So pretty neat stuff. Now, one of the new things, and Andy and I were wrestling with this, and he was being very patient with me as we did this, is that we were in our hub. He's like, well, have you played with the new amazing stuff that does amazing stuff? I'm like what? Well, like the chart. I'm like, here, Claris's history with charts has not been great, right? Anytime that Claris says the word chart, I kind of run whimpering the other direction. But we actually built the chart, and it was so easy. And so we ended up saving the chart. So we ended up going into our spreadsheet over here. In fact, we could do it again. You want to do it in real time?
Why not?
Want to try it? Okay, so what we have to do is we have the data, and then we had to do a filter on, we wanted to do a filter on the column called address 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click over here because the field labels are a little bit monkeyed up because we're playing with this in real time. But I'm going to add a condition for the filter. I want the state is not a good one. I want the, what was it, address 1. And I'm going to say contains the word, I'll just do Texas this time. Okay. And I click on that. I click over here. And did it take it? Is it going? What did we do?
I think it did. You're showing
no,
204 records now, right? I think if I squint.
Or did it do it? It may have done it. Hang on. It may have done it and I didn't notice it. That's correct. So sorry, I missed that 204. So if can I grab this and move it? Will it do it? Will it do it? Yes. Go. Yes. I like it. All right, cool. So over here, yeah, so we're kind of willing FileMaker to go where we're doing. I mean, we say FileMaker is the Claris platform, shall I say more clearly. So then what we want to do is we wanted to do a group by the city. So we did so we have this found set. We want to do a grouping by the city. I click on that. What does that get me? Oh, group by city. There's a shortcut right here under the little arrow. That's very cool. So I'm going to say group by city, and then that's great. So now if I click over here, that puts the count up there for me automatically. So it kind of builds our sub summary for everyone. So Amarillo 5, Austin 19, there we go. So then we wanted to write a dashboard, right? That's what we were doing. We wanted to create a dashboard. Andy, feel free to stop me if I mess this up.
No,
here we go. We're going to create a dashboard. That's horrible. Okay, how do we fix this? We want the, was it city? Is that what we wanted? What would we group by?
We did this before. It was respecting our found set and our grouping. Yep. What do we do, Richard?
I'm trying to remember. I'm having a moment.
Try it on the grouping header.
Oh, the grouping. Oh, this one. Yeah, it's not. giving me that at the moment. What am I grouped by right now? I'm grouped by address for one. Let me try that. Okay. Well, there. Okay. Well, okay. We have 204 and it's Texas. So what was the city? What was, okay, hang on. Let me say the city
Group by
is
city.
actually,
Yeah.
it's under, okay. So what we want to do is we do city. So what we'll do is we'll try city,
Oh,
address
you have two
one,
fields called
then,
city.
nope, it's giving me grief.
Richard, I
Ah,
think you have two fields called city, and I think that may be part of your problem.
what's my two fields? What did I do?
If you scroll to the right, I think you have a second city column, and I wonder if they're getting confused. I
Mm,
thought I saw, yeah, see the one with the phone numbers? And so
mm.
they're all unique. I bet there's an issue there.
Well, I should call this phone then. Why don't we just change the name here? Oop, save. Okay, great. So should we try that one more time? What I'm
When
gonna do
we're
is
playing,
I'm gonna cheat and see what we did previously because that's what I'm gonna do because we'd already built
yeah,
this.
I
And
think we
it's
blew it
just a
by doing
matter
the
of doing the
two
sequence
main columns.
correctly. Yep, yep, yep. So here I'm gonna hit the chart right here. I'm gonna say open. Okay, so that is actually giving us, now notice right here, this is kind of an important piece right here. So over here in our spreadsheet, we were already in Texas, right? Real quick. And so we're over here messing with Texas, trying to get it to work. But when we built the chart, it preserves the context. So we built the chart, it was in California, sorted by the counties, quite by accident. And so it preserves that, which is great. So it actually was doing what it was supposed to do, but it preserves the found set. And you can also then easily share this with people, which is really great. Am I going to go back over here? I want to see the chart. I'm going to say edit the chart. There we go. Bar, table, x-axis county, y-axis record count, and unique. And so it's county and record type. So what I
Yeah, I
will
think
do,
we got ourselves in trouble this time, Richard, using city because we had the two city columns, and that's
yeah,
actually I'll bring back to the office to let them know.
yeah. Well, if I can get confused by it, a brand new person is going to get confused by it too, because
Well, apologies to your audience. What we're doing right now is the kind of interaction I've had with the platform so far. I promise next time I'll come back, I'll be a little more familiar with all this and have some better demo content for you.
No, I think I think this is educational because people are seeing this, and the people here are all nuts and bolts people.
That's
Um,
right.
they're out. It might bother you not to have a super polished demo, but you learn a lot by watching someone, frankly, struggle under the load, right? And so, county, there it is.
There you
That was all it was. And
go.
so when I create this, it's going to create a layout. It's going to know that the backend table is this backend table. It attaches to that. It also is going to take note of in FileMaker terms, take note of the found set and the sort state. Found set and sort state, very, very important. So I create this. This is so cool. So right now you're like, yeah, it's pretty cool, right? And so it's a dashboard. It would be the Texas dash, right? And I could probably go up here and change it. Let's see. There's
I
dash
think there's
two.
an implication here as well, Richard, that, I assume this is still the case, but when I was out in the wild and I was building solutions as a professional developer on the FileMaker platform, every system that we built, there would be some amount of the project was building all the reports, right, for the execs,
Yep.
for the CEO of the company,
Yep.
so that they knew what was coming out of the software we made. And now with this, in fact, I recall a story one time where I was working with a really cool company, a couple hundred employees up in Minneapolis, and the CEO had been directly involved in helping develop the solution when they were a 10-person company and they grew, right? But after we got in there and we started making things a little more powerful, one day he destroyed the data just trying to create a report because he didn't understand how we built the data.
Yep.
And so we had to take him off of that, but he still wanted the ability to do reporting. And again, this is the kind of tool where he's traveling around the world. He could be in a hotel room. He could fire up his browser and he could build the kind of reports and dashboards he needs to understand the health of his business, right? So this is, again, an area where we think we can augment the capabilities of FileMaker, not just make charting sort of easier and faster and make us more productive as developers, but potentially engage analysts and executives who want access but don't need to be in tinkering at a data level, right?
All right, cool.
Level, I should say.
Hang on one second. Okay, so that one is requiring, so the registration we had before, Margaret, did you post that? Well, you didn't do it in Discord, or did you put it in Discord too?
I did put it in Discord. The chat has been moving in Discord.
Oh, and so apparently it's asking for a login, a platform login for both of these, and they should work without the platform login. So I am not quite clear on that. This link, ideally, you would give it to anyone and it would just work. It would be a publicly accessible link, if that makes sense, right? So you give the link to someone. Right now, if they hit the link, Andy, it's asking them for the credentials to log into the Claris Studio credentials. So that's another one of those things that you'd want to be able to enable.
Try sharing it from the preview, Richard, because I wonder if you were actually sharing the edit mode, if you will.
Oh, okay. Back up. There's a difference.
Well, sure. If I'm previewing it, I'm acting as a consumer of this form on the web, right? So I would assume that is a different share than the link when you're editing the form. You're probably asking.
Let me try another one here, Margaret. So you can try. No, it looks like this.
Looks like the same.
Looks like
it could be wrong.
Link could be. Yeah, could be the same one. Margaret, you want to try that?
Yeah, I'm trying the third link.
So because I'm in preview mode, share.
The third link brings me to it, but I don't see any of the data.
Oh, just wait. It's rendering then. Just wait. Share that with people. It'll render. Okay. It's going to chunk a little bit and then and after a second it pops.
Oh, there it went. Okay. Also,
yes, Andy, Andy is correct. So the share between a preview mode, like I never would have thought of that you would share the editing, because like only special people, like the people in the live stream, are allowed to edit FileMaker. The end users aren't allowed to do that. No, it's just mindset, right? That's good. Can send a, yeah, that bottom one, David, is that. I think that second link is that. You had to log in again?
I'm also logged into a Claris account automatically, so maybe it's
okay.
I didn't think I would be, because
Kyle says the two links are the same. All right, we'll have to chase that down. But historically, when we demoed this in May and we built the form, and we had the balloon registration, which was right here, edit, and we were going through this process, we could share it, and it was became a public link, and it was functional. So they've got it turned off right now for whatever reason, so that's fine. But that's the whole idea, to make it really simple like that. Well, other questions you have for Andy? Because it's been about an hour, and the idea is to kind of give you an update on where this is going. Clearly, with the attachments in the system, the two-way synchronization, charting dash, it actually seems to work. The Kanban board, which we haven't played with, is actually very cool too. That's a little bit more reminiscent of a project management kind of statuses and things like that.
Real quick.
Yes.
The link I'm about to post is actually going to work. So what happened was that in copying it from you to me, the link got messed up. So I am fixing it. I fixed the URL, and now that should work. Okay, we're good, people.
So the link, you copied it. Okay. All right, cool. So Bretterman says it works. Yes, awesome. So there is a difference between the edit, share, and if you go here, you can edit and preview, and if you share and edit, you're going to get a link that can allow people to edit, assuming they have credentials. And the preview,
the analog would be like sharing a link to the WebDirect page versus a link to log into FileMaker Pro and work on the layout, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah. Well, cool.
I appreciate the call for additional comments. I'll say I've been pretty liberal today about not being adherent to FileMaker Pro versus Claris Pro, because I know that we're all in the context of being FileMaker developers, right? And but I don't want it to be lost that Claris Studio, the stuff that we're looking at, is built to be synchronized with Claris Pro, right? Like we'll need the Claris platform, the new Claris, to do all this stuff together. And one won't be able to just roll into FileMaker Pro 19 and link to Claris Studio in this fashion. I think we probably all know that, but I just want to make sure that's clear. We need to think about the Claris, I'll call it new Claris, right? Because the Claris platform, we are conceiving it as one toolkit, right? You don't ad hoc or buy piece parts, right? You don't buy Claris Connect and Claris Studio and Claris Pro separately. They come together. And it's going to enable us with the Claris ID, as we get that harmonized across the platform, to do things like we've talked about this before, put a freemium version of the platform out there so that people can test it, right? And people can use it before they're committed to providing the value to their business. And that's going to change really a lot about our go-to-market strategy. But I hope there's no confusion that we will have a unified Claris platform that provides all this stuff. So it will comprise everything that we know and love about FileMaker with the new tools in Studio and Connect harmonized to work together and just give us more. So again, it's going back to the earlier comment about making our developers more valuable, more powerful, extending the capabilities that we have. That's the goal. That said, we absolutely will keep FileMaker, branded FileMaker in market, because we know there are some technical issues. For instance, right now, there's no way to use Active Directory to log into your solutions, right? We know that's really important for a lot of our customers. They will need to stay on FileMaker 19 until we can get to a place where we have that kind of authentication available. So we know there's some roadblocks. It's not going to be an easy once and done. Let's just all convert to the new Claris platform. For some customers, it will. For some, it'll take more time. So we'll keep both riding. But the Claris platform, we believe, is the bright, glorious future. So hopefully, the more we play with it, the more we're going to love it.
Yep. So you will at some point see the word FileMaker there drop on this version over here. This is the kind of the 19 standard one, and this is the one that some features.
Yeah, and don't get hung up on the version number in that dialogue. I'm not convinced that. I've heard you call it because it's in the dialogue, FileMaker 20, but it really isn't, in the sense that 20 will have more features than 19 in the FileMaker toolset. We want those to be very closely aligned going forward. There will be some things that one does, some things the other does that are a little different on the edges, but for the most part, it's the same tooling. And we may reserve FileMaker 20 as a version number we care to use to upgrade FileMaker 19 at some point, right? So, but FileMaker as a brand is still in market. We have that. We know it. We love it. We trust it. Or the Claris platform is our future. And I think we're going to grow to love it and trust it and ultimately go there. So
I totally agree. Good stuff. So awesome. Well, I want to thank you for all the conversation comments today. A lot of people here. It's great.
Yes, it's been fun as always. And I realized, we have exhausted our hour. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, we have exhausted an hour, and I'm sure you have a meeting to go to, or maybe your day is ending. You're in Atlanta. Are you still in Atlanta? Where do you live?
I am in Atlanta, and I wish my day was ending. It is not. I've got 2 more meetings.
All right. Well, I'm going to cut everyone loose tomorrow. We're going to pick up the conversation with Nick Hunter on user interface design. He'll be working on that tomorrow, intermediate level user interface development tips and tricks and how to be that awesome developer. Ken from the hot air balloon, thank you for letting us use you as an expendable lab test animal today on the testing this stuff. So that's great. I appreciate. Ken says anytime. Right on. All right, cool. Well, that's it for today, everyone. Catch you tomorrow. Thank you, Andy LeCates from Claris.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate you. Cheers.
Got a report of an individual up here who may be a FileMaker license. Well, it's potentially expired. Look at the back of that car right there. Looks like the FileMaker license has expired. Sir, I need you to step out of the vehicle. Sir, step out of the vehicle. Sir!